Enjoy the sunshine. By just talking briefly about our strategic plan. Okay, Selma City Schools adopted a strategic plan almost 3 years ago, and it's called a framework for excellence. And within that plan, we established a new mission, new vision statement, and new core values. I always like to quote the vision because it's to be documented as a model school district. And then our core values are students first, because we want to make decisions thinking about how it impacts our scholars. Teamwork, because we want to ensure that we're working collaboratively with the entire community. And then, of course, we have excellence, because we want to do the best we can because our families deserve that. And then my personal favorite, joy, because we want to value each other and make sure that we're doing it out of a spirit of joy. And then we've got equity, because we want to ensure that all means all as it relates to the work that we're doing. And then finally, integrity, doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Now, within that strategic plan, we also have 4 areas of focus: teaching and learning, culture, climate, and community, leadership, management, and governance, and facilities and technology. So this work that we're doing in terms of looking at Knox is around facilities and technology. And specifically around facilities and technology, we were looking at right-sizing our district, okay? And we've had a couple of meetings with our facilities team, and we've talked about what it means to right-size and what right-size is not. And I think it's really important to just kind of review what we mean by right-sizing and what right-sizing is not. So I'm going to just share with you some information that we have discussed over the last few weeks. The first thing is that research shows that it's cost effective to operate schools that are at about 75% capacity. And when we talk about cost effectiveness, we're talking about as far as staffing, as well as how much it costs for the building to be open, you know, the maintenance, the facilities, upkeep, and even utilities and that type of thing. Right sizing is a common need in shrinking cities. And y'all, unfortunately, Dallas County was listed as the fastest shrinking city, or county rather, in Alabama again. And I don't know if you saw this. This just came out about a week ago. And we were at the very top. And for cities or counties that are losing population, right sizing is sometimes necessary. And so because we are getting smaller, we cannot continue to operate the same number of facilities at the capacity that we have before. Now, one thing that right sizing is not downsizing. So it doesn't mean that we're doing a reduction in force. It doesn't mean that we're cutting positions. Now, there may be some positions that will be repurposed. And I talked to the faculty and staff about that a couple of weeks ago when we talked about our Saints Virtual Academy and some other needs within the district where there may be some repurposing in terms of reading intervention being a need. We're even looking at math coaches being a need. So some positions may be repurposed, but this is not about downsizing. And then staffing is more efficient when schools are right sized. Okay, and with that, again, that means that when you're somewhere closer to that 75% capacity. I'm just going to share with you our enrollment and capacity for our schools. Edgewood has an enrollment of about 339 students, capacity of 558. So they're almost 61% filled to capacity. Meadowview has 225 students, 378 capacity, and they're just under 60% capacity. Knox is at 139 with a 342 capacity. So we're at just over 40% capacity here. Clark is at 213 and has a capacity of 540, and they're right at 40% also. Kingston, where our pre-K is also located, has 243 students, and their capacity is 360, and their percent capacity is just over 67%. And Payne, our final elementary school, is 170 students with a 504 capacity, and their percent capacity is just under 35%. And so none of our schools meet the 75% capacity. And this is our smallest school. And when we consider how we right-size the district, when we looked at closing schools a few years ago, we did look at closing more than 2, but we did in fact close Cedar Park and merged it with Edgewood, and we closed Byrd Pre-K Early Learning Center and moved our early learning scholars to Kingston. During those discussions, we talked about other configurations for closing, and Knox came up as part of that. And we were looking at, several people mentioned the railroad tracks as one of the concerns. Some people mentioned the size within our smallest school once we closed Cedar Park. And the bottom line is there's no good decision when it comes to closing the school. And there's no one right way to do it. And that's another thing I can say about right sizing. There's no one right way to do it. And so we are considering closing Knox Elementary School at the end of this year. And what that would mean if we did it is that all of our families would be able to choose where their scholars went to school, either Edgewood, Meadowview, Clark, or Payne. And we'll have a selection form for you to fill out where you can choose one of those schools. And then you could also select and let us know if you would need transportation, because we will also provide transportation as needed to that new school. And in doing so, of course, teachers would have to shift, and teachers and staff will also have an opportunity to look at intent forms again in terms of locations for the upcoming year. Now, I've talked to the board about it, and to be clear, it's not anybody's desire to close any school if we don't have to. However, as our enrollment and our city population continues to decrease, this is where we find ourselves yet again. And so my intention is to make a recommendation at our June board meeting to close Knox at that time. And if it were to be board approved, we would move forward with registering our scholars who attend here to the school of the parents' choice of those 4 schools that I just mentioned. And then that would be where those scholars would attend school beginning in August. So those are just the key pieces of where we are. We have a phase 2 of the facilities plan that we're looking at, and we've discussed what it would look like if we had to close School of Discovery. And that discussion has a lot to do with the condition of the building. We all love the 6th grade academy, so we've also discussed how about if we built a new one? Is that a possibility? So those are things that are future discussions because they're not immediately being recommended by me. And so it is something that we will continue having discussions on in the coming months. And so for today, we have 2 different ways that you can share information with us. We've got QR codes. If you want to use a QR code, who are my parents that are here? Okay, so you can use a QR code, or you can do a paper copy. But what we're trying to look at is any input that you have. Just if you've got some questions or some concerns that you want to bring to our attention. And then the other thing is the school choice selection, and who can give these to our parents. Okay. And we got it on QR. If you want to do it electronically, if not, you can do it on paper. And if you've got any questions or concerns, you can just write it on this form since you have this form, and just let us know what specific questions and concerns are. And again, we will meet again on next Tuesday at noon and invite parents to join us then. We are asking for families to complete the forms within the next week. We're trying to get it back before school is out completely. So we do want it to be done by next Wednesday if possible. And I'll be working with Dr. Curitan to make sure that we have a way of communicating with families. We will continue to seek input, and so the same form, the QR code, Courtney has shared it, and she's also in our chat box. Are there any questions in the chat box that we need to address right now? Okay. And Dr. Curitan, I just ask that you continue to seek questions and any comments for family members so we can make sure that those are addressed. And so just a reminder, we've got our Title I community meeting for the entire school district on Thursday at 5:30. And then we will meet back here again on Tuesday of next week at noon. And if anyone wants to shoot me an email, it's avis.williams@selmacityschools.org. Courtney is typing that in the chat box. And if anybody needs that, and I need to share it again, write it down, or give you a card, I can definitely do that before you leave. And since we've got a small number of parents here, I can talk to you all individually right now. So we can end our virtual meeting and I can talk to you all individually and see what your concerns and questions are, or if there's something else that I need to be aware of that I need to think about. Okay, so we'll end our virtual meeting as Courtney is typing in a few more things. And we thank those who joined us virtually, and please share the word with others who weren't able to attend today virtually or in person. And we will be sure to make sure we are reaching out and keeping those lines of communication open. All right. Thank you all so much. And see, I'm done with the virtual part.